Hello guys, we meet again. Okay, so we will go into hypothalamus. Hypothalamus has been covered quite extensively in chapter 2, but we will revisit the hypothalamus. Okay, this part of the brain cannot be seen from the outside as it is embedded deep within the brain itself. It controls a lot of activities, mainly homeostasis. Okay. Among the many bullet points listed here, there are a few that I've underlined simply because those parts or those roles are greatly emphasized in our syllabus. So the first one will be controlling the autonomic nervous system. Number 2, very important, body temperature, sleeping waking patterns, emotional responses, and controlling the pituitary gland by inhibiting or allowing release of certain hormones. Part number 2, medulla oblongata, a very important part of the brain. This is the continuation of the spinal cord. It is the middle region of the brainstem that is right above the spinal cord. It's about 3 cm long, and you can find it behind your windpipe. Okay, take note of this, guys. We will cover this in chapter 7 and chapter 8 mainly. There are 3 centers that you need to remember, and you also need to remember what it does. Part number 1, cardiac center. It regulates the rate and the strength of the heartbeat. Part number 2 is the respiratory center, which controls the rate and the depth of breathing. Part number 3, vasomotor center, which regulates the size of the blood vessels, meaning it controls the vasodilation and the vasoconstriction of the blood vessels. I will not elaborate much now. I will keep it for chapter 8. Medulla also has another function. It regulates the reflexes such as swallowing, sneezing, coughing, and vomiting. These will be covered in chapter 6. And the centers that I have mentioned just a while ago, they are controlled particularly by the hypothalamus. So they work together. Okay, the last part, spinal cord. It is somewhat cylindrical in shape, and from the brain, because it's a projection of the brain, from the brain it comes out through this opening found in the skull called the foramen magnum. Okay, the foramen magnum is also found here. It's actually found here. This is an aerial view, and this is the side view. Okay. At the center of the spinal cord, you will see a small little opening called the central canal. You will find CSF running through the central canal. Okay, the spinal cord, unlike the brain, the gray matter is located in the internal region and the white matter is found on the external region. Okay. Remember, the white matter is composed of myelinated nerve fibers, and nerve fibers are referred to as tracts when it comes to the CNS. So there are 2 different types of tracts in the spinal cord: ascending, which means upwards, descending, which means downwards. So ascending tracts carries impulses upwards and towards the brain, while descending tracts conducts impulses downwards and away from the brain. Yep, so this is the image of a cross-section of spinal cord. So the afferent sensory information is carried up into the brain via ascending tracts, and the signals from the brain is carried via descending tracts and then brought into the effector via motor neurons. Okay, the function of the spinal cord. It carries information into the brain and information out of the brain. Role number 2, it does integrate certain reflexes like moving your hand away from an object or jumping, closing your eye when something flies towards your face. Okay, so this is the summary of all the structures that we have covered in the past few lessons. So I want you to read this up. And before we end, let's look at one example of a past exam question. When you sneeze or swallow, which labor part of the brain is responsible for the control of this action? Now remember, there are two different types of reflexes. This is one type of reflex. The moving your arm, closing your eye is another type of reflex. So this reflex is controlled by the medulla oblongata. So the answer is B and not D. This reflex is not controlled by the spinal cord. This reflex is controlled by the medulla oblongata. Okay, so I will be questioning students. I think about 7 to 8 students in class. And after questions, we will be watching presentations of students in class. Alright, so see you. Bye-bye.